What's in the Box? Written by TheTobacconist. Sweetie Belle currently had no desire to make arts and crafts project. It was what she would normally do when bored out of her little skull. But it was all that she had been doing for the last few days. Rarity had learned to lock her workshop when she was gone for an extended period of time. There was no way that she could do any sewing. Applebloom was visiting family in Manhattan, and Scudloo was off in Clydesdale. There would be no crusading today. She paced the carpet of her room, struggling to come up with an idea for entertainment. It would have to be indoors. Rarity had specified that she didn't want her leaving the house in this kind of weather. It would have been something fun. She was too bored for anything else. Perhaps something nostalgic. That would be greatly enjoyable. Perhaps something constructive? That would be enjoyable as well. Perhaps both. That would be mind-boggling enjoyable. Her boggled mind arrived at a conclusion. Building blocks! She whispered to herself in silent awe. There were a toy that was nostalgic and constructive, perfect for rainy days such as this one. She smiled as she reached underneath her bed and prepared to drag out the large box that they had been stored in. She found nothing. Her hooves darted across the floor beneath her bed, finding stuffed animals, small rocks, and old magazines, but no cardboard box filled with building blocks. The pleasant snapping as the pieces interlocked pervaded her mind. Thoughts of their glossy surface filled her with nostalgia. She must have them. They were the only thing that would keep her sane, the only thing that would make something fun out of an otherwise gloomy, and they were missing. She gritted her teeth in frustration and checked underneath all of the furniture. They were not underneath the nightstand. They were not underneath the dresser. They were not underneath the floorboards. Had she been any more complete frame of mind, she might have realized that lifting up floorboards with a hammer might have been construed as property damage. But she was not in the right frame of mind for that. No, the siren sound of blocks snapping into place called to her. There could be no sanity while the persuasive tattoo beat and clicked in her head. A thought roared over the imaginary clicking. Perhaps they were in the attic. Yes, she found the idea quite reasonable, even logical. It was a welcome reprieve to have a logical thought to challenge the continuous snapping noise in her mind. The entrance to the attic was in the hallway, and with enough precarious balancing chairs, she was able to reach the drawstring. The chairs fell beneath her, and she was left holding onto the drawstring by the mouth. She eyed the floor with a strange sensation building in her chest. Dread? Not quite. Perhaps vertigo. Despite her extensive vocabulary, she was not yet familiar with the word, and would not be for some time. Though, if she were to be familiar with the word, she would most certainly use it. The drop-down ladder creaked and unfolded, sending her to the ground. She winced and wished that her forelegs were long enough to rub her tailbone, but her task was nearly complete. She carefully climbed the ladder and looked around the dusty attic. It was unexpected that Rarity would leave a room so unclean, but it was continuously out of sight, and by proxy, out of mind. Sweetie Belle sneezed and created a fine ring where the dust had been just before her. She shook her head and climbed up, resting her hooves on the unfinished wood. She smiled at her prize. There, just beneath the attic window, was a cardboard box. A cardboard box that called out to her with that sweet siren sound of the snapping of building blocks. She trotted to it carefully with a grin on her face. Nothing could stop her now. The pounding rain would not keep her bored, and the absence of her friends would not prevent her fun. She flung open the box and reached in to grab her prize. Her face immediately fell into a deep frown. Her eyes went wide and her pupils dilated. The look on her face was like some amalgamation of the darkest fear, the most legitimate disgust, and the most bizarre confusion. These were not building blocks. She could not describe the objects inside this box, but she had a sneaking suspicion on their intended usage. She would not allow herself to think of the box's contents, but she promised herself that she would be washing her hooves post-haste. She shut the lid of the box, exited the attic, released the drawstring, and never thought about building blocks again. Rarity returned sometime later and dropped her groceries in shock. Sweetie Belle was at the kitchen sink, still scrubbing her hooves and forelegs, muttering unclean repeatedly. Rarity walked up to her slowly and looked down at her. Sweetie, she said worryingly, would you like to tell me what's wrong? Unclean, Sweetie Belle answered, still scrubbing her forelegs furiously. Find the box. She poured more soap onto her hooves. The box in the attic. She lathered the entirety of her forelegs. Things in it. Terrible things. How long have you been scrubbing? Rarity asked. Not long enough. Sweetie Belle washed off the suds. They don't make water hot enough. She added more soap. Things were filthy. What things? Rarity squeaked. What things are you talking about? The things in the box. Sweetie Belle stopped scrubbing. In the attic. She looked up at Rarity. They had your friends' faces on them. Rarity blushed and fainted.
We here at Pony&Wolf Productions thank these amazing patrons of ours for their monthly support, without which all of this would not be possible. We sincerely appreciate it, and every dollar helps, is needed, and will be used to keep us going to produce audiobooks for your continued enjoyment. It is, now more than ever, important that you support your favorite creators if possible, due to YouTube changing in a way that is not very friendly to content creators. Especially small content creators, like us. In recent months, the names you see on screen have enabled Midnight and Visual Pony to keep going and only having to sell off part of their belongings to not end up on the street. As an incentive for everyone, Visual Pony has broken a vow and has promised to read and record Fallout Equestria, Murky number 7, should the monthly support reach $1,500. To be clear, this is the absolute minimum amount needed to keep the apartment and all bills paid without starving, while a production of this size is ongoing. The estimated time for this production would be 3 to 4 years, but people already said that Project Horizons was impossible to do, right? And now look who did it, so with Pony&Wolf, you know we can finish the job. For further information on how to support us, please have a look at the description of this video, as there are also other ways, like our merch store. Sincerely and forever yours, your Pony&Wolf team.